Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the SH Figuarts Dragon Ball Z Majin Buu Good Exclusive Edition. And this is exclusive because it doesn't say Comic-Con exclusive, it's just event exclusive. So, as of right now, I'm just saying this in all the videos for these because people seem to want to speculate on when they'll be available elsewhere. They haven't said anywhere yet as of the time of filming. So far, it's only at Comic-Con in person. But I point out that it only says exclusive edition, doesn't have the Comic-Con logo. They could show up elsewhere. We don't know yet. This is Majin Buu. It's the least different out of all of the figures that have been repainted or remade for this batch of figures, but it does have some notable differences. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. Before we get into the figure, I'll just show you the packaging real quick. Since it is an exclusive, it has that very nice black main part and then the kind of line work neon pink. Suits Buu perfectly, looks really nice, and it's basically your standard packaging but in Comic-Con form. And I will show you, there's the other one, the main one, the regular release. My second favorite style of packaging. I love these kind of like comic panel type things. So there you go, those are the two versions, those are the two figures we're going to be looking at today. Now I wouldn't hold it against you if you got confused as to which was which in the wild, but in the review, I'm going to make it pretty obvious. Alright, so this is the new one, obviously, since that's what we're holding and talking about, and we're going to talk about it like it's a brand new figure. We're going to make some comparisons, and we'll see which ones you guys want to buy. But first, let's do a quick question of the day. Which arc, which saga in Dragon Ball Z is your favorite? You can't go into Super, you can't go into GT, you can't go into regular Dragon Ball. It has to be Dragon Ball Z. For me, I want to say it's the Android Saga. Then I would go Cell Saga, then Saiyan Saga. You can do extra ones if you want to, like the non-canon ones if you want to. Are they? Well, they're canon, they're just not in Kai. Whatever, you can pick whichever one you want, but those are mine. Okay, so let's talk about this guy. He stands roughly, we'll say the top of his head about 18 centimeters, not counting his little thingy. And that's going to be about 7 inches. He's got some size to him. Now, main differences on this guy, they're relatively subtle. The glove color and finish. The old one had darker, kind of like school bus yellow gloves that are matte finish. This one has the more lemony yellow gloves that are glossy. The new one's vest is very satin finished. It looks very nice like that. This one is matte finish, and mine has messed up spots on it, which is a bummer. The cape is slightly more violet than purple. The old one, the one on the right, has more of a bluish purple. The one on the left has just a slightly more reddish purple. It does have very subtle shading throughout the cape. And the shading on the skin tone, by the way, he has his shading right here across his man boobs. This one doesn't have shading there. This one has shading down here across the belly. And so this one, I was hoping when I leaned him back I'd find some, but I haven't yet found any shading in his belly, which to me, that's a bummer, because I think the belly shading is really nice and you're not likely to pose it away. Although having the boob shading is pretty good too, so I don't know. The gold here is a slightly different gold, but that's inconsequential. And the pants are very similar. The new ones have shading a little bit more. I guess the old ones don't have any shading, huh? Can't quite tell in the harsh lighting. But the new ones definitely have shading, so I like that a whole bunch. So there's not a huge difference here. The pink is slightly different. I had some people ask me in the video the other day, depending on when you're watching this, if the heads are swappable, because this guy, the original one, did get an alternate head in a second release from a different figure. What was it? Was it Super Buu? It must have been Super Buu. The pinks are slightly different. This one has a little bit more of a purpley pink to it. The old one does. The new one is definitely closer to like a flesh tone pink. So they aren't directly swappable, but they're not that different that it would be a huge problem. In fact, let me just go ahead and pop off. I'll pop off the old one because that's how you would be doing it. If you buy the new one and you have the alternate head already, this is the way it would match. All right, so let's see. I'm not gonna peg it in. It's close enough. You'd have to be really trying to notice the difference. So that's good. Okay, so that's it for the comparison part. It's all just paint, no big deal. And now we can talk about the rest of it. Well, I guess there's one last little bit of paint comparison. I hate these ball hinges. Is it on? It was on. Okay. Ball hinges drive me up a wall for necks. They're so frustrating. Okay, so the last little difference, I'll show you this now that we have the head popped off. is the way they painted the face. It's the same paint job, but it's a little more noticeable on the new one. You can see the lines around his cheeks and his eyebrows. A little bit more noticeable on the new one than the old one. Focus camera, come on. There we go. So that's it. Very, very subtle differences. The main difference being the color of the gloves and the finish. So those of you that already have the old one and you don't really want to try to hunt this one down, you can decide now if it's worth it based on the slightly different color here, slightly different color here, very different color here. Not shockingly different. Okay, so I still will give this a rating. I'm going to go through this like a regular review. I really wish he wasn't missing his belly shading. That's a bummer. Did this one have any on the arms? No, the arms are still shading less. But the belly shading is a bummer. I'm still gonna go for the paint job of the aesthetic. 9 out of 10. It's still damn good. And having this be satin, these be gloss, and everything else be matte with the metallic finish. Oh, it looks really, really good, but I do miss the belly shading. That's a bummer. Okay, now as far as accessories go, we get the 3 heads, the kind of smiling head that comes on him in the package. Then we get the open mouth smiling head and the tongue hanging out head. They're all very nicely done. We get the 2 fist hands, the 2 pointing finger hands, and the 2 gripping hands, also nicely done. And we get his chocolate bar, which is almost identical to the chocolate bar we had in the first release. So accessories are nothing shockingly good. It would have been really nice if they included that bonus head that we got in whatever that other figure was. I think it was Super BUU. So that's a bummer. I'll go 7 out of 10 for accessories. It's average, nothing great. They're well done, but they're very minimal. Okay, now for articulation, you already saw the head is on a little ball hinge, which makes it a pain in the butt, and the neck is on a ball peg. Luckily, he doesn't have like a ton of range necessary, so it's fine. Shoulders are on a butterfly joint, which works pretty well, and they're the right color. It's a little hard to look at, but it's there, it's functional enough, and then that ball peg, ball hinge combo gives you plenty of good range. Bicep swivel is fine. Double jointed elbow is not as good as I would have liked. Could get a little bit more range out of that, I suppose. It's only a little bit better than 90, so that's a bummer. The wrists, looks like they're just on straight ball pegs. I want to make sure yeah, okay. So straight ball pegs, they get decent enough range out of there. Not my cup of tea. Some people love just basic ball pegs for wrists. They get too gappy for me, but they're functional. That's okay. Before we forget, the cape has a hinge for each of the 3 parts. Again, not the best looking cape ever, so you kind of just want to pose it where you don't see the gaps, I guess. But they do have swivels on them, but they don't really get a ton of range out of them, and then you end up with a big gap. So yeah, it's still one of my least favorite capes out of all the SH Figuarts. Definitely a bummer. Torso is on a big ball peg. He can lean that far forward, tuck that belly in there. He can lean that far back. Such a bummer there's no belly shading. Side to side is pretty good. You want to be careful not to get... See, I got a black mark on there. I wonder if like a magic rub eraser would get it off. I think it might. It's not actually scratching, but you can transfer the black matte finish. Recipe for disaster. So you do get rotation, but I'm going to recommend you don't use it because you're definitely going to get black transferred onto that pink. So there's nothing they can really do about that, but it is a thing. The legs go all the way forward. I like this a lot. They've done a really good job with the diaper pants. See if I can do it without stuttering. Out to the side, all the way, no problem. So obviously there's no thigh swivel up here. You do get one down here in the little black nubbin, and then you get a single jointed knee. So that's pretty good. I mean, considering the sculpt, that's a pretty good batch of leg articulation. The ankle comes on, or is, a double ball peg. It's a little gappy and it does pop off probably too easily. And the top ball peg almost has no range, so not the best ankles. It's a little bit of a bummer. This figure's fairly dated too though, so I don't mind. Although I would definitely think on a fat ankle like this, a big ball hinge would have been great. It's good enough range, it'll do. And then the toe hinge is okay. So yeah, it's not like the most incredibly articulated figure ever, but given that it's a big fat bubblegum person, I think it's okay. I think it works out. So I'll give the articulation 7 out of 10. It's not great, but it's perfectly good for what it is. It's understandable why it's not better. So I think that's okay. So this one, least necessary update, I think, after Shenron. Then Goku's brand new. And that Goku and 16 are definitely the standouts this year, but this BUU does look really good. I like the color of the cape. I like the glossy yellow gloves personally, so I'm psyched to have it. My final verdict on this one's gonna be overall 8 out of 10. Really, really strong release. I hate that they missed the belly shading. I really, really would have liked that belly shading. I know it sounds silly, but to me that belly shading makes the figure stand out so much more. So, but then again, the boob shading is nice. It needs both, really. So anyway, I like it, but I don't like it as much as I like Android 16, if that makes sense. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. In the meantime, keep collecting.